Hello YouTube, this is Lynch World. This is going to be my very first movie review, so I hope you guys like it. And to start off with the very first movie review, it's going to be David Lynch's 1977 debut, Eraserhead. Eraserhead, drama, surreal, horror. It's about a man named Henry whom on the night of visiting his girlfriend and her family full of weirdos, and by weirdos I mean her dad who never stops smiling, her grandmother who never moves, and her mother who always comes on to Henry relentlessly. He discovers that night that she had a baby, a premature baby, and that he and her are to be wed and live together forever. Now what's even more shocking is not the fact that she had a baby that Henry didn't even know was on the way. It's the fact that the baby looks like a love child of E.T. of some sort. Now aside from the appearance and lack of appendages, the baby cries like any other baby, but the only difference is that the baby cries consistently, to the point where the mother goes mad and pretty much ups and leaves the baby and Henry. At this point, Henry is on his own and the baby cries and cries, forcing Henry to give every single last bit of attention and strength he has to the baby. And that's pretty much the basic outline. Now here's a question. Why should you see this? Well, if you love horror films or films that are creepy, then you really can't go wrong with Eraserhead. Everything from set design to practical effects, it's well made and it's just excellent. The movie is shot in black and white, as you can probably already tell, and the black and white's really effective as it gives this movie this distant and kind of isolated feel where, you know, things aren't really going to turn out well in this movie. And everything from set, like I said before, with the set design and practical effects, it's excellent. There are so many images in this movie that are so unexplainable, and they're going to make the viewer go, what the fuck did I just see? And for the very first film of a director, I can't really praise this movie enough. I mean, so much love, so much care, so much, you know, just so much, you know, so much love went into this movie. Even Stanley Kubrick himself regretted not having directed it, and that really says a lot because it's a great movie. A lot of work was put into it. Hell, the movie took 5 years to finish, so that should, you know, already show for what Lynch did to make sure his movie fit his vision, and I appreciate that. Now, here's another reason I might add. For the story. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what fucking story? Well, let me explain right now. There is no story. There's only a story if you put a story there. And it's a rule for David Lynch films. You have to interpret the movie in your own way, otherwise you're not going to get anything out of it. This rule applies to all of his films. Probably except the Straight Story, but that's a different movie of a different kind of genre. So going back to Eraserhead. Now what makes this movie interesting is if you know more about David Lynch and his life around the time he started making Eraserhead. And if you don't know, David Lynch was living in Philadelphia and he lived in an awful neighborhood. The crime rate in this neighborhood was ridiculous. Robberies every day, murders every day. His house was robbed all the time. Plus he had a kid and a wife. So David Lynch probably had a lot of stress, you know, around the time he began to make Eraserhead. So with that added on, it kind of feels like a film that kind of it represents what went through David Lynch's mind around the time he was living in these conditions. And what's also worth noting is the fact that he and his wife had separated by the time he went into production. So as a result, he had to sleep on the set. So with that in mind, you really can't help but to think that this is more so a autobiography of David Lynch, a very surreal autobiography, where all of this stress and, you know, with his wife and with the neighborhood and with his newborn kid, that he just felt he was losing it, you know what I mean? And even if I'm wrong, you know, well, I can't be wrong. This is my interpretation of it. But even if you don't agree, if you have your own interpretation of it, cool. I mean, go ahead, man. I mean, comment right now what your interpretation of Eraserhead is. This should make for some cool conversation. But yeah, man, I mean, it's really interesting if you think about Eraserhead more so as a horror autobiography rather than a movie about a man with an alien baby who just, you know, sees weird shit. One more reason, the fact that this movie is pretty damn insane. It's pretty slow paced, I can tell you that. There's really not a lot of fast paced, you know, crazy things happening. There's a lot of crazy things happening, but, you know, not Not by today's standards where it's just all over the place, even though it is all over the place. I hope you people know where I'm getting at here. But what I mean is that this movie, the surreal images in this movie, they get stronger and stronger as the movie progresses. And then it gets so strong to the point where the climax, it's just powerful, because that build up after seeing so many disjointed images, you just really don't know what's coming next. And when that climax takes off, man, it's just shocking to see. And that's what I love about movies. I love movies that build up and they have that one shocking moment. And Eraserhead is the king of shock moments, in my opinion. So if you love movies that build up, and get to that crazy point, I recommend it all the way, man.